Welcome to this video where we have a look on for loops, a control flow. We are controlling the flow of the interpreter, not going from one row to the other, from top to down. And this is very useful for lists, to iterate through lists, as we will see in the following. So let's start by defining a list that is simply having 3 elements, 0, 1, 2, and we want to iterate through that list. And we are doing it as follows. This is the syntax of a for loop. And there's a lot of stuff here to clarify for us regarding the syntax because many things are new to you. The first thing is that these for loops, they are identified, they are recognized by the Python interpreter with the keywords for and in. So we have for, and then comes a new variable that was not there before. And this has, in this case, the name var. You can also name it differently, of course. And this is where we are storing all the elements of that list _1. Yeah, so we're iterating 3 times. In the first iteration, var is 0, then it's 1, then it's 2, because these are the elements of list _1. Then comes a colon, and after the colon, we have a so-called indented body. Indented body are rows that start with 4 spaces, period. That's it. 4 spaces, and then we have the code. This is called an indentation. Indentation is very important for the Python interpreter to see what is part of that for loop. So if you have like 10 indented lines, these 10 indented lines after the colon, after the for loop definition, are part of the for loop. Then we have our print command here that's simply printing whatever is stored in the variable var. And the output is simply having var 0, var 1, var 2. So let's have a closer look on how this works. So we have the same example here again, it's just a little bit different. So we have our list definition, we have our for loop. So the triangle is indicating where the interpreter is at this moment. So we start at the top as usual, we have our list defined here, and the next row we are looking at is the for loop. At this point in time, var is not defined. This is what we define in the for loop. So let's go one step in the future. We are going to the next row that is actually the for loop definition. At this point in time, var is taking the first element of the list. That is a 0. Then we go to the print command and we are going to print what we already know. Var is then the content of var and then the list. The list doesn't change during the runtime of this for loop, so it's 0, 1, 2. Then we're going back, and this is now the novelty to you. We are going one step before to the for loop definition now, getting a new value for var, and we are going to print this one, but var now is 1. Going back to the first row of the for loop, and we are getting a var 2, and now printing the list. I'm opening the Jupyter notebook right now, so we can have a practical example on this. So we have a for loop. Again, we come up with an arbitrary variable name, my for loop variable in, and then we are coming up with an arbitrary list, for example, C, B, and A. Then we have the colon, and if I hit enter now, Python automatically sees that I'm having a for loop here, is automatically doing the indent. Again, I have 4 spaces here. I can also do it manually. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces, and then I'm simply printing my for loop var. That's how it goes. Let's do something that is more practical. For example, we want to do some calculations. Let's have some real numbers here like this. And then we are printing, for example, the division by 4.2. So you have multiple numbers. So you can actually do something with your list here in a for loop, and we will have more examples in the future where for loops are actually used in way more complex manners, so they become very powerful. So in the next video, we have a look on bools. That is actually a new data type where you have the opportunity to store a truth value. That is actually the prerequisite for our second control flow, the if conditions. So stay tuned.